Dr. Jaffe, one of our customers writes in asking about the COMT gene. He wants to know if it's possible to challenge the system with folate and tyrosine instead of doing any genetic testing.
Well, let's start with what COMT is. It's an acronym. Basically, this is a very important enzyme involved with neurotransmission, like acetylcholine, built from a quaternary amine called choline that we often recommend to enhance magnesium uptake. And you must have choline in order to achieve the benefits of COMT, because it's not just based on choline, but also it's a methylation, that methyl groups come on and off quaternary amines. So can you test, since about 10% of people are known to be low in that system, which means they are vulnerable if they don't have enough buffering minerals, antioxidants, cofactors, and so forth. And we know this from back in the 80s, when for whatever reason, people were spraying malathion to kill fruit flies. And then they learned if they just picked up the rotting fruit, the fruit flies would go away without harming the people. And it turned out one of the important professors at Stanford not only had this disposition, he had a low COMT, but the spray, the solvent that was used to disperse the malathion, was taking the finish off the high-end cars in Atherton and Palo Alto, California. And that got a lot of attention. So COMT, yes. However, if you challenge it with tyrosine, the amino acid that becomes adrenaline and noradrenaline in the gut nervous system and central nervous system, that tyrosine is going to go a lot of different directions. The tyrosine is going to be incorporated as an amino acid. Some of it is going to be enzymatically acted upon to make adrenaline or noradrenaline, which is then going to get stored in little vesicles, in platelets, in dendritic cells, in a variety of cells that then take up these neurochemicals and release them, say when collagen activates the platelet. So it turns out to be a very interesting, important subject, and it's very complex. And I would actually suggest that this client schedule a time to have a conversation with us, with Jayashri, with myself, with them, and anyone else who wants to join us. So I can clarify, since genetic testing is notoriously unreliable, including and especially for the COMT family of genes, since the genetic testing, according to Eric Lander and other professional geneticists who I learned from, is notoriously unreliable, I would not do genetic testing for COMT because I wouldn't know personally, after 30 years of studying it, how to interpret the results. On the other hand, I do know functionally how to do a 24-hour urine. And in that 24-hour urine, you can look at adrenaline, noradrenaline, and its metabolite, serotonin and its metabolite. If you want, you can measure dopamine, you can measure GABA, you can measure glycine, because that is a neurotransmitter, as well as a simple amino acid. And so it's a very important complex issue in biology. And since we do physiology before pharmacology, since we do functional testing and provocations, we want to show you how to get the good stuff in and the bad stuff out so that the COMT system will operate as efficiently as possible for each individual. And if you want to know whether you're dealing with the 10% or the 90%, the 10% of people who are low in this system, and by the way, they're low in several systems, if you haven't yet read, look the book up called Highly Sensitive People. It's a title. It references the fact that certain people are more susceptible to environmental toxins than others. And these tend to be people who, for whatever reason, have a low COMT type enzyme catalyst system. Now, You want to have a low homocysteine and a high methionine. You want to have enough magnesium choline citrate to make sure your first morning urine pH is 6.5 to 7.5. You want to do a weekly C cleanse and take the mother antioxidant ascorbate in its natural protected form the way we have it, so that the rest of the biology, the rest of the gut nervous system and central nervous system can adaptively optimize itself. So we do physiology before pharmacology, and in the last 30 years that I rediscovered the physiology before pharmacology approach, many of my colleagues know a lot more about pharmacology, and I haven't needed to rely on them in decades, because physiology works just fine when you're willing to rethink, when you understand inflammation is really repair deficit, autoimmunity is really self-attack, maldigestion, dysbiosis, enteropathy, and atrophy of digestive competence are not only endemic and actually almost pandemic, they are now very common throughout the world. But more importantly, if you don't have communion between the digestive tract and the gut nervous system, and then through the vagus highway onto the central nervous system, if you don't have communion between those, you're going to have an unwell person who has all sorts of trouble. So we recommend physiology. We recommend following these approaches so that the body can rehabilitate itself. It can get the bad stuff out, like the toxic metals, solvent residues, hormone disruptors, etc. Maybe mold products and radioisotopes. You can get those out and you can get the good stuff in. And the good stuff are the essentials, the things we can't make. We have to take them in because our bodies can't make, say, vitamin C, ascorbate. Most species on the planet can convert glucose sugar into ascorbate, not us. Okay. What else? Well, how about B complex that we have to take in? How about the essential minerals? Well, we have to take that in. We can't make them. How about the essential cofactors? All the way along, there are examples of the alkaline way to sustainable life. The Joy of Living the Alkaline Way guide can be downloaded online and downloaded digitally. Or we have a print version for those who want to use it as an education tool so that people can focus at home on what the health professional, health coach, or colleague recommends. And yes, we've been at this long enough to have a sense of how to make the information available in a very personalized, proactive, predictive, primary prevention practice protocol that makes life worth living. It adds life to years, years to life. It reduces costs, it reduces suffering. In the way they used to say it on the Lower East Side of New York, such a deal. So we want value, we want science, we want evidence, and we want people to know how to apply what we and others have discerned as a 21st century approach to survival, in fact, to thrive in the 21st century, despite all the toxin stresses and challenges of our time.